Did it work? I hope it worked. Come on. Okay. So personally, I don't see anything yet on the stream. Hang on. Okay, no, I think we're good. I think we're good. Also, for some reason, I don't hear anything on my monitor. So I'm just going to need to trust that that the game audio is fine. And one last caveat before we get started. It is a very hot day today, so I may have to turn the AC on at some point. Yeah, I do think we're good to go. Let me just make sure the audio is good on my monitor here, and we'll get started. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm just going to turn the AC on now. Just be safe. There's going to be a little bit of background noise. We may have had some technical difficulties here getting everything set up. So I'm sorry if you guys got booted. Hope you get back on the stream shortly. The background noise isn't that bad. Just the reality of summertime. So yeah, I don't know exactly what happened with the whole, getting the stream set up thing, but it did not work exactly as intended. So I'm going to wait a minute here for everybody to file back in. Then I'll get started on today's discussion. That's really probably what most of the stream is going to be, is just discussing what's going on with ESO now and in the future of the game. Last thing I want to do is make sure that my audio is coming through from the game. The game audio is coming through just fine. Okay. Yeah, I just can't hear it for some reason. But welcome, everybody. So, getting right to it. Last week was a very interesting week for ESO. I've had a lot of chance to reflect on what this actually means for the future of the game. I feel like this is a good place to reflect on this because Solstice is the newest zone. It's the newest area in the game, and after some reflection, I've had to recognize just how minimal it is. People have been complaining about it being really small, and comparatively, think about it. So the Blackwood chapter had Blackwood, Murkmire, and the Deadlands, right? It was all three of those. And Solstice is about as big as the Deadlands. I just don't really know, and then also, for instance, the Elsewhere chapter had both Northern and Southern Elsewhere. And so the idea is that they switched to a seasonal model just because it's time to shake things up. I mean, that's what they tried to tell us, but... Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a personal story that I think will help shed some light on this. So, I once worked for a CBD company, and I really liked making money at that CBD company, and I didn't really like doing work. I'm just going to be honest here. And so, what everybody who likes making money and doesn't like doing work does is they try to make more money while doing less work. And that's exactly what I did. Because there wasn't really any oversight at the company, I was allowed to basically just do whatever I wanted. And so I did. But eventually, the owners of the company, who were just really kind of checked out, like white trash people with like huge problems in their personal lives that consumed almost all their time, they finally realized that I was, basically just dead weight. And I got fired. It's actually really funny. The same thing happened to me where I just woke up one morning and I was locked out of the Google suite, the Google business suite of services. I just couldn't log in to check the company emails because I responded to all of them. I was basically running the company, and that made me feel entitled to basically do whatever I wanted and make deals where I was getting paid an enormous amount for doing basically nothing. So when this happened with ZeniMax, I immediately understood what was going on. Over the years at ZeniMax, the core leadership team have done exactly what I was doing at this CBD company. This was at the very beginning of CBD as it rose to its height in popularity. They were just trying to make as much money as possible for themselves personally while doing as little work as possible. And the result is Solstice. So me personally, I just love this game so much, and there's so much to love that I kind of just get wrapped up in my echo chamber of style, cosmetics, etc. And I might not always recognize the truth of what's going on in the wider world of the game. But the live stream I did last week, combined with the video I came out with later relating to the layoffs, really did hammer it home for me. It was really a bunch of comments that I got. So I appreciate everyone who commented. That was very helpful in terms of me having perspective. Well, I don't necessarily appreciate everyone who commented. There were definitely some nasty or pointless comments, but there were lots of people who said, this cleaning house has needed to happen for a long time. The game has gotten smaller and smaller and smaller in terms of its ambition. And there are some exceptions to that, of course, where you have the introduction of new and, in my opinion, is incredible features like subclassing. But these should be afterthoughts that you notice after you are done being overwhelmed and amazed by how good the game is. Subclassing shouldn't be the high point of this year. There's absolutely no reason Solstice should be this bare bones. I mean, it's a really tiny zone, and the eastern half is not going to be that much bigger. So are we going to see any immediate improvement? Probably not. But this does open the door to improvement down the road. Before I made my video, I had not checked any of the sentiment from other creators, but basically all the videos I saw were, this is a horrible blow to ZeniMax. ZeniMax is finished. Everything's over. And I was just like, that's never even occurred to me, personally. And hang on, I want to tell my guild here that I'm live, really quick, because this is an amazing guild. But I really do believe that basically there are two options here. everyone freaks out and it's over. Like everyone just leaves, out of protest or whatever. Like the whole core management team, the whole core development team, they all just leave. I guess that is remotely possible, but I don't see why they would just choose to lose their jobs like that. Okay, Dutchman's here. Welcome, Dutchman. What I would like to see to flesh out this smaller content is a simple boob slider. A hot female house guest in the crowd store. A hurdy-gurdy instrument? Dude, what is a hurdy-gurdy instrument? What does that mean? A fishing skill line? Yeah, well, I mean, that's kind of what brought people to Skyrim over and over again, was the amounts of TNA that you could put in there with mobs. Or with mods, I mean. And, they kind of did a little bit of that with that ridiculous elf character who was prominent in Blackwood. And from then on, I forget her name, but something like Lavelli Short Arrow or whatever. And there's also Gabrielle Bennell, these people who are thrown in there to make lonely guys feel like somebody likes them. But yeah, I mean, that would be an improvement, I guess, for some people. Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, what we need more than that, though, is either a return to the level of content production that we had, or honestly, improvement. And here's why I think improvement will happen. It's not just copium. I'm just going to look at the timeline here. I appreciate you, Dutchman. I'm not sure if I agree 100%, but I appreciate you. So let me just kind of run through a history of ESO. You might already know this, you might not. I might add some insight here. What I'm going to do right now, though, is just run from the top of the zone to the bottom just to see how long it takes. So ESO began development in 2007. So this is right after Oblivion came out. And the game is basically based on Oblivion. The engine that existed when Oblivion came out, the assets that were out in terms of textures, etc. And after just 7 years of development, the game was fleshed out and ready to be released. And they did. They released it on PC as a subscription-only game, meaning that you had to pay, and it was like quite a bit. It was like something like $30 a month or something to be able to even play the game at all. It was a lot more than ESO Plus. And you weren't able to play it if you didn't pay this pretty ludicrously high subscription fee. So what happened was Matt Fuhrer, who was the head then, figured out basically single-handedly. This is his main moment of triumph that we can really, credit Matt for, is that he picked this game up by its bootstraps and made it viable for everyone. He got rid of the subscription model. He ported it to console. Welcome, guys. And then it started to thrive. So from around 2014 to 2016, really 2017, because that's when the one Tamriel change came into place, which really, I still remember the game before one Tamriel and how it was like kind of cool how you had different difficulties at different levels. You actually went through the game and like it became more difficult as you progressed towards Cyrodiil. I definitely liked that, but the one Tamriel change really did make it viable for a much larger crew of people. So, and right now I'm just running, by the way, from the top of Solstice to the bottom to see how long it takes. It shouldn't take long at all, is my opinion. So they got to 2017 to one Tamriel. I think that's also when the Necromancer released. I may be wrong about that. And then all of a sudden, they decided to take the success that they'd found in this game and absolutely ruin it by diverting an incredible amount of resources into a new project. So yeah, welcome Mike, welcome Silk Road. Thanks guys for being here. And we learn now that it was at oh no, I haven't finished Solstice yet. Mike, we learned now that it was in 2018. So really right when the game was at its zenith, really coasting from some major wins, that they decided to basically give up on it. Kind of like, ambitious parents who have like one kid who they coach and help all the way through, like high school, then suddenly they like give up on in preference of the younger kid, and as soon as the kid graduates high school, they just give up on him and start working on his younger brother, right? It was kind of like that, where it was really, the game had, if this hadn't happened, if they'd never started working on Blackbird, I just wonder. Like, I know that Solstice wouldn't be this tiny, for instance. And maybe we'd have maybe we'd have the whole map filled out by this point. Maybe we wouldn't have any gaps whatsoever. And I can't even imagine, like, not just scribing, but like full spellcrafting. There wouldn't be any lag in Cyrodiil, that's for damn sure. There wouldn't be any of these persistent problems. We probably would have had brand new combat animations 3 or 4 years ago. Crossplay would have been a thing. It was all instead diverted. Okay, how do I get over there? It was diverted into Blackbird. Yep, it was 100% Blackbird, Mike says. I agree. So, it's one thing if you're already super successful with the game, but they just barely, gotten ESO off life support. And then it's one thing if you just divert some resources. If you're like, well, we're going to take a risk here, and we're going to put like 50 or maybe 100 people on this project, and it's going to be kind of secret and in the background. And then maybe once your main game is really working great and you have resources you can divert, then you maybe add more people to it. But from what I understand, they basically halved the ZeniMax employee base to work on this project, like from the very beginning. Yeah, this island is smaller than Little St. James, man. All it needs is just a little weird Islamic temple and some tennis courts. This is Little St. James Island. Maybe this is where they lost the client list. Digging up a treasure chest here in Solstice, up comes blank client list. I've seen people get banned just for even talking about the list or trying to send related documents and stuff. It's crazy what's happening with that. But in any case, yeah, they might have longer quests. Like, what is Solstice? Like 6 quests? And so, or, it's going to be 12 with the whole thing. But I remember when they had one huge zone and one small follow-up zone. Kind of like, you started to see the decline, though. You started to see how stretched thin they were with High Isle, which was a great chapter in many ways, but it started to feel, like Lord of the Rings, like butter spread over too much bread. It's really, I started to kind of get that vibe. And people were saying that High Isle and Galen were pretty small, and I don't know, but compared to Solstice, man, they're enormous. You got 3 whole islands here. Solstice is about the size of like these 2 island sections put together. Western Solstice. So it's like if High Isle released only with this section here, and then this section released later in the year, and they didn't have a Manos, and they didn't have Galen at all. So yeah, we have fallen pretty far here, and that needs to be rectified. And it wouldn't. So like, imagine if you will, that ESO wasn't a successful game. But it is. Despite all these flaws, people like me just love the aesthetics, and so we buy every season pass, every chapter, every crown crate, you know, we invest in the money or in the game massively with our money, but then what happens is they took this one's silly, these stupid stairs. They took all that money and they invested it, like, really. I mean, so we know that they invested 200 of their staff, and based on the number of employees who were in the union, there were probably only about 450 employees maximum, like maybe 500 peak. But between when they started Blackbird and now, it was probably close to half the employees were put on Blackbird. So there's the what you're paying those people, right? But there's also all the other costs for third-party software, for outsourcing, for just the real estate, for you know licensing all the different trademark stuff that you're doing, for all the legal fees. I'm sure I'm missing other categories here. I mean, it's a lot of money to develop a game. And so it's like half of the money that we were putting into ESO wasn't going into ESO at all. And a lot of that we are never getting back. So there's the poison pill. There's the poison pill. I'll get to the chat in a second. Where it may be too late. It may just be too late to fix this. But if anyone can fix it, it's Microsoft with greater oversight. But I did do some more research into this Joe Burba guy. And he's actually, it is a he. You know, some women go by the name Joe, so I wasn't sure at first. But it is a he. And he has been the director of live content in the game for years. So this means he's the guy who has been running every chapter and now season. I don't think he's ever been on a single live stream. I don't know. He's just been in the background grinding hard to make sure the game is a success. This is the guy who's really been doing all the work, while Matt Fuhrer has been working on Blackbird. Which, again, I don't know how many of those resources we're going to be able to recoup. I don't know how many of these employees are going to be able to come back and work on ESO. I don't know how much of that IP is going to be able to be repurposed and put into ESO. Like, maybe there's some kind of combat mechanics that they developed in Blackbird but can now put back into ESO. Maybe. But this is all just like a huge maybe. And so I'm going to entertain this side of things first, where it's possible that it's too late. There's been too much shenanigans. There's been too much waste that cannot be recouped. And that on top of the fact that the team is being gutted and now has low morale could mean that the game is going to spiral into an even swifter decline. That is possible. I didn't really talk about that in the stream. I want to definitely admit the possibility there. It is possible. But I don't think that's going to happen. And I'll get to that. I'll get to why in a second here. You spent the total of a brand new truck like on the game? Is that what you're saying, Mike? Damn, bro. Over 5 years, you've spent $70K on PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. I believe it. There's a lot to buy in this game. I don't think I've spent that much. Hey, you know what's funny? I have a story here. So for a while, I was actually playing the game on Google Stadia. This was when I didn't have a device that was good for it. I hadn't played for years. But I was like, you know what? This Google Stadia thing is here. I still have my PC account. I'm going to go ahead and give this a shot. It was terrible quality. I'm sure anything like this is still terrible quality. But I did manage to play the game, and I ended up spending about $700 on MTX during the time I was playing. Then Google Stadia went under, and they said they'll be refunding everything people spent on Google Stadia. And I was like, oh, they just mean like, the game itself, maybe the DLCs. But over the course of like 3 or 4 days, I got something like 40 or 50 emails, each individual refunds for every single bit of MTX I ever spent on ESO, plus the amount that I spent on the game and the DLCs. This was during the High Isle era. So literally all of that money that I spent on the game, including I got just so much free Crown Store stuff. Like I would almost recommend like going back and doing that. My little baby daughter's here at the door yelling "Daddy." We'll see if she stops taking the bait and takes off. But yeah, I got all that back. I couldn't believe it. And I think I went and invested it in Bitcoin or something. Because I'd stopped playing again by that point. I've taken lots of pretty large breaks from this game. Hey, unrecognized. Yeah, I thought my 3K was a lot. Yeah, I really wonder how much I've actually invested in the game over my 10 years of playing. So I didn't really buy much. She's standing at the door yelling mean at me. The toddler is yelling mean at me because I don't want to let her in. I might have to let her in a minute. But I didn't really spend much in the first few years of the game. And then when I got back into it, I know exactly how much I spent when I was playing through Stadia. And then since I've gotten into PS5, I got a PS5 in 2020, only 23, I think. Maybe it was like the winter of 2022, I think. So I had 23, 24, and then this year. Yeah, I've probably only spent 3 to 5K, maybe. Should I let the baby in? I think she gave up. Yeah. So she's learned recently to say mean and rude. And sometimes she combines them together. Mood. Yeah, we'll see. Maybe I got something amazing in this trunk. But yeah, I mean, I haven't spent as much as you. Like, I think you might be the biggest whale in the history of ESO. I mean, I know that's not true, actually. I mean, people have spent probably 100K or more on this game. Okay. Thank you, Mike. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to take a break again on the game unless they completely ruin it. And Mike says I don't have to leave the guild. He never kicks people. I appreciate that. I don't know. I'm not going to take a break again. I'm going to kind of do a little bit more explanation of my journey here. So for those who've been part of the channel for a long time, you will know that I started the channel with Diablo 4. And I started it simply because I made a friend in that game. Here's my origin story again. I made a friend in the game who was a radioactive spider and he bit me. No, I made a friend in the game who was a, epic elite gamer, did a lot of gaming, but he'd never played the game before, and I basically coached him through the whole thing, just for fun. I said, this is how you do it, this is how you do this. He's like, man, you're really good at explaining things. You should start a YouTube channel. So I was like, okay. I was like, sure, why not? And I did, and I had no idea what I was doing. I got my ass handed to me in many ways. Can we just take a moment here really quick to focus on one of the good things about Solstice? These shells are so cool. But we could have 4 times the number of shells, right? We could have such a bigger and more robust zone. People have said it looks AI generated, and I kind of agree, but yeah, I'm going to get into Diablo 4 here a little bit too, because it's related. But just giving my story, this was a few months after the game launched. I started making some content kind of casually, and it really caught on in certain ways. I was doing some things right at least. But this is another situation. Oh, let's see what's in the chest. Where I very highly expect there to be some major layoffs and firings at Blizzard here soon too. I just can't imagine that there wouldn't be, given the way things are going with that game, where they had the beginnings of a really good game. Like, people had worked on it really hard, and then Blizzard got Me Too'd. They did. Bobby Kotick was a lunatic, but the whole studio didn't need to go down because of that. But it basically did. And there was this huge morale drop. Basically, everyone who was working on it on Diablo 4 had to leave, and then a bunch of new people had to pick up the pieces. And then even more of the core staff have left as the game has been developed. They've gutted the game. They've completely changed around the mechanics. They've made it into just like this pathetic imitation of an arcade game. And just keep in mind, this is also a Microsoft property. So real quick, catching up with the chat, Mechanized, I think the zone gets better when the wall comes down. Yeah, for sure. You know, and don't get me wrong, like I'm sticking by my guns. I still love Solstice. I think it's like one of the most beautiful zones they've ever made. I really like it. Just the issue is, for me, the fact that I'm starting to realize how much better it could have been and why it isn't. If you follow me. Like, there is this palpable sense of decline that has coincided with how much investment they've been putting into... What? Skystar animations are broken. It's really hard to see when you're getting them or not. There we go. That has coincided with all of this investment they've been putting into Blackbird. So I'm not trying to say I don't like Solstice. I love Solstice. It's probably my favorite next to Auradon. It's like the new Auradon for me. I hang out here all the time. It's the only place I really go in the game. But this is pathetic. This absolutely reminds me of when I was like literally phoning it in. You know, at this job, I was getting 10% of the gross revenue from the company. What I was talking about at the beginning, the CBD company, and I was coming to work for about 2 hours a day. If that, right? Some days I didn't show up at all. I was doing basically zero effort and just collecting a paycheck. And I just get that vibe from this so hard. I just get the vibe that people are doing that or were doing that at ZOS. Either that or they were moronically pouring all of their passion into what is now, I mean, we have to admit, whatever potential it may have had, Blackbird is now a failed project that will never see the light of day. It was a complete waste of time, hindsight 2020, right? But okay, so like also having add-ons in the game is great, but I'm just saying, like, how much more of this could we have had? Would we have had crossplay like 5 years ago? Would we have had add-ons in this game on consoles 5 years ago? And then what could we be doing now in the game? So I get it. You know, you want to invest in new IP. You don't want to just have one game that you're doing, especially when you're an independent studio, like ZeniMax was at the time. But I can't justify why they invested literally half of their staff and God knows how much money into something that had no guaranteed returns whatsoever. Excuse me. So I've done some more research into Blackbird, and people said it was a Starfield MMO. Like, not exactly. What happened was, right the same year, ESO came out, Destiny 1 came out too. And then Destiny 2 came out. And then ZeniMax is like, oh, we're going to do that too. We're going to make a Destiny game. And That's what Blackbird was essentially supposed to be. It was supposed to be a Destiny MMO with lots of vehicles, like sci-fi noir kind of styles, probably a bunch of Geiger-esque stuff too. And so not only has that been overdone to oblivion now, apparently it was kind of a loot shooter MMO that totally wasn't, stealing from Destiny in any way at all, of course. But I mean, the warning signs should have been there with how bad Destiny has become. And I think I've mentioned this before that I was a huge Destiny 1 player, loved that game. Destiny 2 came out. I tried to convince myself I loved it, but it was really bad. And now I haven't played for years. I occasionally I re-download it. I'm like, oh, this will be fun. I'll do some what do they call it? The 3-man dungeons that they have in the game. I forget, strikes. Because I always liked strikes. I like the Nightfall strike. All that. And then I'm just like, it's just so empty. And it's the same thing where they're squeezing the players dry, trying to get blood out of a stone for really half-assed content that's going nowhere. And so for some reason, ZeniMax decided they wanted to emulate that. They wanted to make a Destiny MMO. Oh, what's up, Coral Drift Bear? Just kind of appear out of nowhere. Okay, let me. I'm not trying to be all negative. Like, I love how we have all these. Like, this was, I think, previously just a mount. I'm not sure, but there's so much cool detail in this game. But it was clearly the case that they had to focus on this doing these small details because they didn't have the resources to do anything grand and ambitious. And why was that? It was because they were spending all their money on Blackbird. They were taking probably at least half of our MTX revenue, our DLC revenue, and putting it into a project that doesn't even make any sense. Now, apparently, I don't know how this works in the corporate world, but they did a whole vertical presentation, and that means in corporate speak, kind of showing what the game was from top to bottom of Blackbird to Phil Spencer, the CEO of Microsoft Game Studios, like 6 months ago. And apparently Phil Spencer was like, wow, hey, great game, guys. But probably in the back of his mind, he's like, oh, God, this sucks. And was already planning to axe it from then. And then, I cover this in great detail in my video, too. How I don't think the unionization efforts really counted in their favor either. But, yeah, this was such a long shot. And when you have a long shot project, you maybe allocate like a quarter of your resources, maybe a third, but they went all in, man. They were already in debt to the house, like $100,000, but they went and got more chips and they pushed them all on the table. Riding on Blackbird, 21. They just, I don't know much about gambling. I hope that sounded reasonably like I've been in a casino more than once when I was 18 in Australia. But, they did some kind of gambling. Put it all on horse number 7, the horse guy. He's going to win. Yeah, I gamble all the time. Totally. Yeah, they went all in on this project that only had the minor potential of working. I hope we are all possessed of enough common sense here to realize why that is not particularly wise. In your job, or in anything in your life, like say you went up to your wife and you said, honey, I want to take half of our money and put it into a shitcoin. I'm going to let it all ride on Doge. And hopefully your wife would be like, wait a minute, let's not do that. Because people who have common sense don't go all in on potentials. And this wasn't just like family finance. This was the future of a game played and beloved by millions and millions of people. You're taking all of their money and putting it into something with only the slimmest chances of success. It's a brand new IP. It's iterative. Clearly, you were inspired by Destiny and you wanted to make, but it's like 5 years too late. All the hype around looter shooters is gone. All the hype around sci-fi noir is gone. Destiny killed it. And let me just say again how ESO, from conception to release, 7 years. It had been 7 years already. And based on the data I was seeing, they didn't expect Blackbird to release until 2028 at the earliest. By then, it would already be out of date. All excitement for sci-fi noir looter shooters would be gone. So yeah, the Starfield is related to this. I'll get to the chat in a second. Starfield is related to this because they came out with something kind of in the same genre, and it absolutely bombed. Bethesda did. And so it's kind of a weird corporate structure. So ZeniMax is the parent company that owns Bethesda, which produces single-player games, and they also own ZeniMax Online Studios, which produces ESO and Fallout 64. But that's a really small game comparatively. I don't think they have much staff applied to that. Or that might actually be in a separate sub-studio. I can't remember. But yeah, ZeniMax Online Studios, or ZOS, they're the producers of this game, the publishers of it. And they wanted to be the publishers slash producers of Blackbird. But this was just such a bad choice on so many levels. I think for a long time, like High Isle period is a good example of this, where I think they thought they could have their cake and eat it too. We can still make huge, ambitious zones with half of our staff and funneling half of our money into a side project. We can do it. We can do it. And like, you know, probably like 5 to 10 coders and developers had heart attacks and got divorces and went into drug spirals and stuff because it was just too much work. It was too much work to do all this. And so they were like, okay, we're going to reorganize and do things a little bit differently. And they came out with the Necrom chapter, which is, I mean, this is a smaller map, but it had Apocrypha with it, which is a beautiful and huge and amazing zone. Actually, I'm going to go over to Apocrypha right now. Because again, it was very ambitious. But then Gold Road, you will notice, did not have a subzone. And Gold Road was pretty small, comparatively. And you kind of started to see the decline there. And then I think it might have been you, Mechanized, actually, who pointed out that they had this live in-person event for North Carolina scheduled for this year that they just canceled. Everyone was all hyped. They're going to see all their friends in the game, in real life. They're going to go pay God knows how much for tickets to go see Matt Fear parade on stage with his huge beer belly. They just canceled it. So no, you don't get a secondary zone. You don't get an in-person event, but you still have to pay us as much or more for whatever reduced quality slop we decide to send your way. Ouch. Like, big oof. Like, wow. Really? But so I think really Telvanni Peninsula, this whole the Necrom chapter was the last really overly ambitious thing they did, and they decided, well, you know, let's just do what the team can actually do, reduce our scope while also still spending, just pouring millions and millions of dollars into the leaky boat that was Blackbird. But you look around Apocrypha and it's super ambitious and beautiful. And it's all green down here, but then once you get north, it turns red. Like, there's so much visual beauty and originality here. And then they realized they couldn't do that, and now Solstice is just like this. Again, don't get me wrong, I love the zone, but it's tiny, and you would never use the word ambitious to describe it. Not unless you're dyslexic, right? You know, not unless you don't know what the definition of the word ambitious is. Okay, let me check on the chat here. Yeah, so Solstice Mechanized says it seems thin on content, totally. It better get better, Mike says, or it's going to be the biggest failure. I think you're talking about D4 there. Blackbird was supposed to be Elder Scrolls 6. Well, I mean, here's another thing, right? So Bethesda has a history of doing this crap, where everyone has been hyped for Elder Scrolls 6 for like what 7 years now, and instead of doing that, I mean, this is a conversation that people have had a lot already. They made Starfield in record time, which means they must have. And this is Bethesda, another child company of ZeniMax overall. Bethesda, instead of developing Elder Scrolls 6, it was probably a similar situation where they had Elder Scrolls 6 in the making. It was probably slated and really realistically going to come out for a 2022, 2023 release. Oh, no. We need to take half the people and go work on this sci-fi game no one's ever heard of. And they just, well, okay, we'll go ahead and do that, I guess. Because it's going to be a great game. It's going to work. Everyone's going to love it, right? And no, everyone hated it. It was terrible. I mean, there are a few people who really like Starfield. But yeah, also in Starfield, you saw the influence of Destiny, where I don't know why they couldn't just stay in their own lane. I mean, it's not like Bungie was like massively scoring 3-pointers at every turn. I mean, they were having issues too with Destiny. Why they decided to, take the whole space shooter thing and try to put the Bethesda stamp on it at the expense of Elder Scrolls 6. So, yeah, here's the thing. So, I don't really know what it is that ZeniMax likes. Like the parent company, not just ZOS, but Bethesda, ZOS combined. I don't know what it is. I find it very difficult to determine their key priorities. Making great games for the players, no. Making money for the studio, no. I just keep kind of landing on us all making money, meaning the employees and key executive staff, at the expense of whatever. They're Sith Lords, All you must do is learn to seize power, no matter who stands in your way, my young apprentice. It's just like it's kind of has that vibe. Like they're just Sith Lords who are using us all as convenient pawns in their plans for just personal power. It reeks of that. And I know all about that because I was a wannabe Sith Lord for a while too. I wanted to get what I wanted at the expense of whatever. It didn't matter to me. The expense of my employers, the expense of my family, the expense of our customers, whatever. But I learned that lesson at the age of like 25. And these are like 45, 50-year-old people who are still wannabe Sith Lords just thinking, let's just do whatever we can to scrape by and just keep bringing more resources to ourselves. Or I think in Matt Fura's case, to make myself feel better about myself by having this amazing project that's going to blow the whole world away. It's going to be gaming history, top 10 games of all time. Blackbird. I will be the man who created Blackbird. And just like ego, legacy, laziness, all combined. But where I'm getting with this, Microsoft does not have these ambitions. Microsoft wants to rule the world. Well, you little people need to line up and do what I say because I'm going to own you. I'm going to wear my little sweater and I'm going to rule the world. Bill Gates has already achieved actual Sith Lord status. He's not a wannabe apprentice like Darth Maul. He is the Sith Lord. Like next to George Soros, right? He's already been there, done that. And so he and his core team their wills are bent on world domination. And how you get there is by having a highly successful publicly traded company. And to maintain the status of a highly successful publicly traded company, you have to consistently and all the time have epic wins and produce epic gains. You cannot get sidetracked with passion projects that may or may not work. You can't focus too much on immediate greed factors because you will end up shitting where you eat. You will end up taking a big dookie in your very own punch bowl, which is exactly what ZeniMax... They just came across looking like amateurs. They're wannabe Sith Lords who don't even have a lightsaber and can't even do Force Lightning. ZeniMax in general. So first it was Bethesda with Starfield, and now it's with Zos with Blackbird, which at least Starfield actually released. Blackbird never will. It was a huge money suck that actively deflated and hurt their cash cow, ESO, for years, for absolutely nothing in the end. Absolutely nothing. So I don't trust Microsoft as far as I can throw it, and I wouldn't be able to throw it at all. The company's too damn big. But I do know it's the devil I know versus the wannabe devil who I can't even understand if I tried. They want their properties to be successful because they want their shareholders to have confidence in the company. Different priorities. So what this all means is probably improvement. Okay, catching up with the chat. Most of the time wasted was under the ZeniMax banner and not Microsoft. Hopefully resources come back to ESO now. Yeah, that's my hope too, Mechanized. There is no institution the collective won't screw up what to do. Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of any institution, but I do respect the success of capitalism and the public trading model. It's evil. Any institution is evil. When you put that evil directly in the people's hands with a bunch of ideals behind it, millions of people starve. The Maoist reforms happen where they kill all the sparrows and then all the locusts eat all the crops they were trying to stop the sparrows from eating. They take all the professors and make them work the fields, and they take the farming peasants and put them in the universities. In the Soviet Union, there's the Ukraine famine where 30 million people die just because they reallocate resources and nobody has any food. You really bring up a great point here, Mechanized. I think when you're beholden to millions of shareholders at once on the micro level, and then you have a few, people who have 20% or more, right? It just seems the results speak for themselves. Things seem to work. At least in the short term, but what we really need is a theocracy. We need God at the center of everything. And until people are willing to do that again, like they did in the Byzantine Empire, I mean, yeah, I don't really know. The quests were sad, not long enough. In Solstice, yeah. Yeah, Greymore had some good quests for sure. Solstice is depressing. Well, I'm gonna go back. I find it to be, look at my Jamaican style, here on this beautiful isle. Ba-da, 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 ba-da. I like it. I love the vibes of Solstice. I never will not. It actually reminds me of when I went to the Bahamas as a teenager. It really feels like hanging out in the Bahamas. Um, I love it for that reason. I especially love like this area, but this area is like literally like an acre. You know, it's about the size of the plot my house is on. So I get what they did here is the design team went overtime with making it beautiful, but it's tiny. It's like a little it's like a little music box of a zone. Super empty game, Riku says. Well, see, I mean, it can seem that way, but then for me personally, I just invest basically all my time into style. So, I mean, there's plenty to do. There's some people who basically just play Tales of Tribute. So there's tons to do. Oh, Cab writes, dude, this guy came through with the goaded comment of my video on the layoffs. Like, dude, your comment has almost as many upvotes as my freaking video does. I'm so glad you're here. The patch notes are up for U47. Okay, good to know. Oh, you're talking about Starfield. Yeah, okay. Yeah, no, it seemed that way to me. This is what happens when I don't read the chat for a long time. But Cab, welcome. You know, all homage to you, bro, because you put it together. I mean, you obviously understand this. I am slash was a writer by trade too. I switched to this because, as you must know, content writing is in a serious slump. But maybe you got to above like the 10 to 15% per word level where people are still keeping their jobs. But I was right in the brunt of where AI came in and took away the earning potential. So becoming a content creator slash influencer is my direction going forward. But man, so Cab says, I simply can't believe that a game that was in development for 7 years and couldn't show so much as a public vertical slice was supposedly so good that Phil Spencer couldn't stop playing it. I don't know. I mean, so people like Phil Spencer, great comment, by the way. Their job is to lie professionally as convincingly as they possibly can. Their job is to make sure people don't jump off the top of buildings because they know their project is going to be canceled. So that may have all just been some sort of three-dimensional chess game he was playing, just trying to lull them into a false sense of security. Like, God knows. I don't know what his deal was there, but I don't know if he actually said that or if it was just people from ZeniMax saying, "Oh, Phil Spencer loves our game so much." Like, I'm not sure what that came from, but yeah, he's a hype man, dude. So my best friend, who passed way too young, he was in an EDM duo called Fear and Loathing in Bellingham, Washington, and he was the hype man. You know, he'd get up on ridiculous chains, he'd just jump around the stage, making people excited for, you know, our friend Trevor, who was the DJ. And Phil Spencer is just, you're right, he's just the hype man. And these decisions, they can take a while to come about, but just because he liked the game too doesn't mean he's going to sink his own game studio by investing too much in it. Maybe he loved the game, maybe that was totally true, but that doesn't mean he's going to make a strategical error by allowing it to continue. Not necessarily. Zenmaster, welcome, dude. This is a new sub, and I appreciated your comment this morning, or two comments on that video. Put things in perspective. Imagine this: GTA 5, 10 years old, and billions in capital of success. ESO after 10 years, maybe it won't be around much longer. Who knows? Well, I mean, ESO has made $2 billion over its 10-year run. Not as successful as GTA 5, but still, it has made billions of dollars too, and probably a billion, maybe 500 million of that has been put into Blackbird. Again, God knows how much. It's like if Rockstar Games, they made GTA 5 and they made Red Dead, right? That's basically like all they've made. It's not even, but it's like if Rockstar Games decided to make a Hello Kitty MMO, you know, like total vibe shift, total risk, But maybe they have better management there. I don't know. Yeah, Phil was just blowing smoke up. Yeah, I mean, it was some kind of a, it was some kind of 3D chess there for sure. It doesn't mean that he really liked the game necessarily. Maybe he was just playing it all the time to figure out how bad it was. Riku, I could see Phil liking bad games and liking it. Yeah, but failed playtesting with actual players. Yeah, I mean, sure. So Phil Spencer liking something. Thankfully, we don't live in a communist dictatorship, right? Where, if Xi Jinping likes a game, then every single Chinese person has to play it under pain of death. I mean, theoretically speaking, right? I don't think Xi Jinping has ever liked a video game in his life. But say he did, suddenly, whether or not it was good economically, it would be national policy that everyone had to love that game. But here, what Phil Spencer likes doesn't really matter. What matters is how good the game is overall and how well it plays. So, guys, chat amongst yourselves for about 60 seconds. I need to go bleed the lizard, bleed the Argonian, so to speak. All right. So let me just say, I'm just so pleased to have you all here discussing this. More than usual with these kind of discussions because that was a hugely controversial video. I'm used to getting like a 95% like ratio on my videos. I'm used to basically universal praise. Last I checked, it was at 70%. Which is still like more than the majority appreciated it, right? And I have gained way more subscribers than I lost in the end, but still, that is damned unusual. And it hurt my feelings a little bit, for a little bit. Uh, but it's just great to have you all here discussing this, like adults and reasonably. In retrospect, I didn't have to go so hard, but I watched the video a couple times since it came out to be like, man, was I really that brutal or anything? I mean, I guess I kind of was, but I also think people were making way too big of a deal out of it. I think people just partially don't understand physiognomy. We've been told a lot, especially in culture recently, not to judge a book by its cover as far as people go. That everyone is just different and whatever. It's like, but if you have a problem with compulsive eating and it shows in your appearance, you can't actually really, judge that person based on their choices with food. Like if they are compulsive and out of control in that way, they might also spend $200 billion, like 200 million, however much money, on making a failed video game, right? Because they have a slobby sort of compulsive outlook toward life. So I don't regret anything I said. I stand by it 100%. But it was kind of a blow to have so many people leave the channel and dislike the video based on what I had to say. But I wasn't actually really planning to talk about this that much in this stream. I was just going to really just kind of talk about what was next for ESO in general, which let's keep in mind that Whitestrake's Mayhem is coming up, I believe, on the 24th. So that's the next event that's coming in the game. And then we have U47 launching on September 3rd, I believe, on console, August 18th for PC. Then the Writhing Wall event should be sometime in October. I don't remember the exact date. But yeah, all of this is probably going to be exactly the same as it would have been if what's his face, Matt Fuhrer hadn't left, if they hadn't gotten rid of so many marketing people. If improvements in the game do occur, we will probably not see them for another year or two. It will take that long to percolate down through the ecosystem. But I am hugely confident in the choice that Microsoft must have had a big involvement in making this choice of Joe Burba as the new studio head of ZOS, new president, because this is the guy who has been managing the live content for years. The events, the chapters, he's been in charge of all of that. So everything good and new that has come into ESO for I think he's been doing it for since the game launched, as far as I'm aware, has been really due to this guy. But he appears to have no ego whatsoever. He's never been in front of the limelight. He's never been in front of the camera. He's never sought the limelight. And I'm sure this all came into Microsoft considerations. And they were like, who do we have run this? Some H1B from India? Some guy from our studio, or from a different studio? No, let's uplift this guy who is really probably the most effective team member at ZOS to be the new leader. And so I would be very surprised if next year's seasons, or if we even do that, we might go back to chapters, who knows? But if what happens next year is as milk toast as this year, I think they'll have to go big. And whether they're successful or not remains to be seen. But I think they're going to have to go ham or go home here. And many people have felt this year is the make it or break it year for ESO. And even with all of this tomfoolery with unions going on, all of these shakeups that are now happening, we've still had a really amazing year for the game. Solstice is good in so many ways. We have console add-ons. Damn. We have subclassing. Wow. The sheesh. For real. I'm actually going to go over to my subclassing tune because I kind of want to grind them out. I'm trying to get... I have 3 different subclassing tunes. I'm trying to get those Warden Wings on my Dragon Knight because he's kind of like an angelic sort of light aligned character anyway. So I might just do some grinding here in my favorite public dungeon. My Jamaican Rastafari Paladin of the Light here. See, okay, I'm about as far from being a furry as I possibly can be, but I do appreciate the Khajiit. I like my cute little kitty cat. I just don't want to put on a cat mask and go like this and try to attract children. Okay. Off topic. Oh, what's up? Ma'alanir. I liked your comment yesterday. Off topic, what do you think good crossplay would look like in ESO? Like full cross progression or just the ability to play instance content across servers? That is a really good question. I think we would have to go all in for crossplay to work at all. I think it would have to be full cross progression. Like you can load in on PS5, then log out, switch over to PC. Everything is there. I just don't think they could get away with half-assing it. I want to talk about this for a minute, though. This is really important because as of a June 9th podcast, Matt Fuhrer, who was the lead at the time, was saying that the team is now actively working on crossplay. And what this looks like may now change. Maybe they were planning something where it's like, well, you can only play your particular character on PS5 or PSN if you started it there, but you'll be able to play with PC people too. But if you want to go play on PC, you have to have a different account, start a new character. Maybe that's what they were planning at the time. And maybe that's part of the decision that Microsoft made here. Like, that's not really crossplay. We need to have full actual crossplay like they have with Diablo 4. Yeah, I don't know. I think that I think it's a big ask no matter what. And so if you're already going so far as to do crossplay at all, why not go all the way? Totally. I think they should just go all the way. And make it so you can pick up your freaking Steam Deck and you can play the same character as you have on your Xbox or whatever, or on your PlayStation. But here's the thing. Wait, what was the thing? I totally forgot. I even took out my glasses, got all serious, and I had a total brain fart. Something to do with Oh, yeah, the economies. I had never really done any trading on PS4 when I was playing on there years ago, and then I got into trading, even crown trading on PC, pretty massively. And I still remember the palpable sense of shock when I logged into PlayStation for the first time. I was like, everything's so cheap, and people were trading crowns for like nothing, for like no gold. You can buy crowns for like no gold at all here. Like, I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy how much of a difference in the economies there is. And with add-ons coming out, this is something people have had to notice, is that all these price checker add-ons, they provide prices for PC, which is essentially useless. So, I mean, there's so much to consider here. Equalizing the economies. How the heck is that going to happen with crossplay? These are all questions that a company that is dividing its resources half here and half into another game can't do. And I did see in the chat a minute ago, someone asking, do we know how much was really diverted into Blackbird? Yeah, we do. We don't know the money. But we do know that Blackbird had a team of 200 people, while only about 450 people work at ZOS overall. Yeah. So about half the overall team from the studio. Yep. Hang on one second. All right, I'm going to do some grinding on this suboptimal character here. I just realized I still have a mythic ambrosia going, so I should probably, do something with it while we talk. Only 8 minutes left now because I was just effing around. That's fine. I still have more ambrosias to go. Yeah, I love this build. It's not like the most powerful it can be, of course, because every new build I make has to have glowing balls. 2 glowing ball sets at that, so, it's never going to be super OP for that reason, but I'm enjoying the whole like inhale skill here combined with the stampede. Yeah, it's just absurd. Just absurd. Oh wait, there's somebody else in here with me. Oh ho ho. A contender. Yeah, ESO would have a greater quest base if Blackbird wasn't a thing bleeding things. Yeah, do we know how bad the team was split for Blackbird? Yeah, that's what I was just addressing. Riku, is it was pretty much half the team working on something that, again, hindsight 2020, will never be a thing. We know for a fact now Blackbird is a failed project, which means they were all wasting their freaking time. Mike says, you being brutally honest about how you've been lied to, which is ESO promising things that are not given, and is scrapped because they'd rather work on a theory. Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, maybe I was a little bit too brutal. I mean, I've been honest on my channel about how I do have a lot of latent toxicity. You know, I'm actually pretty much of a psychopath. Honestly, I work on it, but I've done some majorly psycho shit in my life. So, you know, I am in no way a saint, and sometimes I do just go too far and I'm a dick. And I think there was at least some of that in that video. I really appreciate all the support, guys, but I probably, it wasn't, maybe it was necessary to comment on the physical appearance, you know, because I really feel like I was making a point about physiognomy there. That I wasn't just like saying, hey, this guy's fat and ugly, let's all bully him. It's like, you're giving across the impression professionally. And one dude did say that I look like a weed dealer in his grandma's backyard, because the way I look. So, you know, fair enough, right? If I'm out there criticizing other people's appearance, you have the right to criticize mine too. Yeah, okay, so I know where the poll is right now, but it's like basically evenly divided as to whether I should keep the mustache or not. I never knew mustaches were so divisive. I never knew that it's just like, I like having a mustache. I don't know why. I don't know. I've had it for so long now too. I don't know what I'd look like without it, but you know, fair enough. Like maybe my appearance is giving some impressions too. But at the same time, I'm a freaking YouTuber. I'm not the head of a game studio. I don't go to a job every day and pretend to lead people. I think that having some personal quirkiness is fine in my position. But it's funny how this has been coming up a lot recently. With a poll I did, I think it's the most votes I've ever gotten on a poll, and they're like evenly divided as to whether I should shave the mustache or not. So yeah, if you guys have not voted in that poll, go to my post, scroll down to last week, and it's there. But yeah, you know, I really was just trying to be honest, and maybe did go a little bit too far, but yeah, I appreciate the support, everybody. Cab says, you know, a while ago now, but Cab said, strong reaction means you're on the right track for good content. Yeah, I hope so. You know, back when I was covering Diablo 4, I did a lot of kind of controversial stuff too. I think I did a video once saying, is Rod Ferguson the Antichrist? I think that was a little too far. I think I've refined my approach, but I think with a lot of people, it just really took them by surprise, because basically all the content I've been doing recently, if you haven't been watching my live streams, like, hey, I'm Spopes, let's learn about something cool today. Okay, kids, I love you, you love me, we're a Jesus family. And I think people are just like, what? This guy actually has a personality? He's not just Mr. Nice Guy? He's not just Mr. Brightside? I'm coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine? Like, I don't know, man. It's such a good song. I got stuck in my head. Coming out of my cage and I've been doing just fine. Yeah, that was when I was growing up, man. That was when I was first getting into music. I had the Killers CD. I had My Chemical Romance, Three Cheers Sweet Revenge. I had Green Day, American Idiot. These are all my little CD case I'd have in my backpack I listened to on the bus. You know, a little known, but if you guys missed this one, there's like this there's this, I don't know what kind of music it is, but Chevelle, man, their main single people know them from is Vitamin R. But man, that whole album that Vitamin R is really good. And somehow I totally missed at the time, but I totally missed Breaking Benjamin. I've been listening to the album that has, you know, So Cold, Firefly on it. I love doing that, where, you know, there's groups I missed when I was that age, but now I've discovered again, right? I'm really getting off topic now, but music is good. I like music. I like playing music. I like listening to music. All that good stuff. Okay, 2 minutes left on the Ambrosia, and I'll pop another one probably. I'll take a break actually just to talk at that point. I just wanted to use this while I had it. I hope the game gets better. I won't hold my breath. Riku, yeah, I mean, I am confident it will. And so my confidence does not equal predicting the future, right? Like, I could be wrong. But given how much has been diverted, I can't imagine it not getting better. But I want to catch up in the chat here. Chase Collins, I've played RuneScape. Fuck yeah. Old school RuneScape, my brother. Now that is a go-to game. Every once in a while I pull out my phone or my iPad and I mess around in RuneScape still. I don't know if you're talking about the new RuneScape or old school, but man, I love OSRS. Final Fantasy, WoW, and lastly ESO. I must say ESO will likely be around for the next 20-ish years. You know what? That is such a good point, and I 100% agree. Maybe not 100%, but you know, with these kinds of things, AI is still pretty stupid for a lot of stuff. But I asked Grok about the future of ESO, and Grok was pretty confident that it'll be around for another 10 years at least. 70% confidence. And you know, I bet that prediction is up now, given the way things have gone. But I'm really curious, Chase, if you could expand on that. Why, out of those games, you think ESO... It sounds like from what you said, ESO is the one that will be around for 20 more years, in comparison to the other ones. I wonder really what it is about ESO that you find to be so future-proofed like that. Because I never really played WoW, but it doesn't look that way to me. I think there will be a Final Fantasy game for the next 20 years, but they keep coming out with new ones. And that's kind of confusing for everybody, at least for me. I don't know. If I started playing Final Fantasy, which I don't think I ever will, I wouldn't know which one to play. And so that's an inherent problem with the franchise. Oh, that's trippy. So when this runs out of charge, I know there's an add-on for this, but it was bugging for me. The VFX goes away. Did they do that on purpose? Because that's a really good way. Instead of it coming out of your foot, coming out of my foot, and I've been doing just fine. Like weapons usually do when they run out of charges. All the glow went away from it. That's the first time I've ever seen that on a weapon. That's great. I hope they keep doing that if it was on purpose. Riku's saying, I think it'll be like Final Fantasy 16. Is that what we're on to? In that time, small dedicated community that keeps the servers worth being kept up. Yeah, the team was split right down the middle, Riku. So Mechanai says, I think instance crossplay will happen, but Overland will be tough with the differing economies. Yeah, I mean, understatement of the century right there. Yeah, I don't know how the hell they're going to marry the economies properly. That just seems... But maybe they're going to start doing the impossible in this game. Maybe. So now I'm going to go back to the entrance and chill for a minute. Catch up in the chat, then I might pop another Ambrosia and keep at it here. Okay. We need better pets. Yeah, you know what it makes you think of? B, it makes you think of that trailer they did where you can interact with your pet and it can climb on you and everything. I bet so many freaking boomers started playing the game for that. And guess what? You can't interact with your pet at all. At least let's interact with the pets, okay? Come on. Like, I should be able to look down at my little wolf here and pet him like you can do in Diablo 4. Yeah, we need that for sure. I Love Funk Music says, I'm on a break from gaming. Sorry it's taking me a while to catch up with these guys. I've heard ESO's latest update is worth checking out. I mean, yeah. There are high points and low points. They've improved the base game a ton, with add-ons being on console, if you're a console player, with subclassing. Subclassing is so cool. I love it. And the game, like, we're going to have swimming mounts in the next update. They are doing some really cool and ambitious quality of life things, but because of what ZOS has been through recently, starting with the unionization BS and then on to all these firings, the game itself may not really improve in terms of excellent banger content for another year or so. But I really do have confidence it will. now. I really do think that it's going to get better from here on out. So, Funk Music, if you have not subscribed, please do, and I will keep you all updated on everything that changes and improves in the game. Yeah. Mike says he's the bigger psycho. Okay, we'll see. How many times have you been banned, Mike? Or suspended? Let me think. Okay, so I have now been suspended 5 times, I think. And one of them was a final warning, but I guess I had long enough in between it, or it was a different kind of thing. So they went back to not giving me a final warning. But yeah, okay, so like there have been times when I was literally just being a psycho directly. But the last time I got suspended, I did talk about this in a stream a while ago, was because I was combating a troll. I was trying to shut a troll down, and that's never wise. Zen Master ESO has a lot of problems. I was waiting 2 hours for a group as a damage dealer. They're not going to be around for 20 years. So that's a normal wait time. Well, I mean, to be fair, DPS always has to wait. I just don't really do group dungeons anymore. I don't know if that has to do with the servers or the game, or just like the amount of people who are playing at that time. I really don't know, but that sucks. You had to wait that long, man. We Are Not Alone album. Right. That's a good one for sure. Thank you. Yeah, that's the Breaking Benjamin album, right? If they wanted crossplay, they would have had it already. Well, I'm thinking, man, if Blackbird hadn't happened, we would have had it years ago. Definitely. Cab says it looks like they're starting to clean up and standardize the skill lines into tank, healer, DPS. They did some buff swaps in this regard for Sork. Yeah, dude. Yeah, your buffs for having minions are way down. Where is this? Yeah, here we go. I didn't notice this, but this used to be up to 10% for all this in Expert Summoner, and yeah, it's just so. Yeah, hopefully, subclassing really just muddied the waters a lot, put a lot of ripples out there, but I'm hoping we're going to see that gradually standardize from here on out. I think it's the only way to rein in subclassing. It's better by grouping of buffs and rolls. Okay, yeah, I'm going to have to check out the 47 notes. You know what? Let's just do that right now. Hang on, I'm going to grab my iPad. Let's just do that live on air. It's Saturday Notes Live. It's Tuesday Notes Live. Blowing up on a Tuesday. Okay, so... Oh, right. It's not just in the normal place. They always do this. If you go to the normal patch note area, it doesn't show. You have to go somewhere else. I forget. Patch notes fixes. Man, I don't know. I'm gonna have to find this because I can't find it here. I always forget how you actually. So it's not under. Oh yeah, public test server. There we go. PTS patch notes version 11.1.0. Right. Okay. Got it. Took me a second, but I got it. So we get the dungeons. We get a test of the Writhing Wall. I covered all this in my videos last week, but I didn't have the actual data yet. So I'm going to skip everything about the dungeons, the Writhing Wall, base game. Oh, interesting. This is something they didn't mention. Compass improvements. The compass has been improved to include more details about the distance from objects that are displayed. Awesome. They didn't mention that at all. Dodge roll visualization update. This changes a new visual indicator to convey the increased stamina costs with dodge rolls in quick succession. I'm having trouble visualizing that visualization. Cyrodiil Vengeance testing round 3. So I think that Vengeance was a big contributor to why and when these firings happened. And also, I mean, I probably was a little bit too brutal on that coverage of the July 1st live stream, but it is not lost on me that that live stream happened, which was so unprofessional and ridiculous. And then the day after all this was announced. Yeah. I think basically everyone hates Vengeance. I don't think a single person likes it. Okay, new furnishings. Introduction, combat, and gameplay. So I'm just going to read this out. Greetings! Salutations! It has officially been an entire update with subclassing in the wild. We've been closely monitoring all the fun and wacky antics. We know there's a lot of discussion over its impact on the game. We're going to continue to watch as data comes in and solidify this brave new world. This patch will be relatively light with balanced adjustments on classes. We're still discussing a lot of potential ways to move forward. This period is critical to ensure adjustments. Blah, blah, blah. We have a few adjustments largely aimed at correcting some of the less ideal behavior we're seeing with passive slot effects. Abilities like Grim Focus and Bound Armor are often being used purely passively. Okay. Going to do some gentle reworking of what they grant. In this update, neither of these abilities nor their morphs will grant unique, unnamed effects for slotting. Okay. We're taking a stab at ultimate generation, how high it can get. From Mountain's Blessing or Savage Beast. Okay. You can expect 2 other main initiatives in this patch. Regular bug fixing and a balanced pass on some of our item sets. You know, really quick, I'm going to link this in the chat so you guys can read along. 1 second. Eh. Oh, of course it doesn't. I was like, my stream isn't showing up, but that's because I'm on my account. Ooh. A new Dragon Ball game. What a fascinating ad. Okay, there we go. There's the link to the forum post. Okay. Regular bug fixing and a balanced pass on some of our item sets. Mainly trial sets. Okay. We will continue to lurk and watch over the discussions and experiences you get into. Okay, fear sources have been updated. No longer place 2 effects. Block no longer fails if the required resources was gained while actively bracing. This is all kind of general stuff. Fix an issue where temporary summon abilities can be cast and drain resources even when their summon would fail to spawn. These are all bug fixes. Okay, the following passives granting unique forms of ultimate when meeting their conditions have been converted to major and minor heroism. So Mountain's Blessing, Transfer, Catalyst, Prism, Savage Beast, Corpse Consumption, Implacable Outcome. Okay. Gravelord, Flame Skull has been fixed. Nightblade, Grim Focus, and Shadow Cloak. Yeah, they're slaughtering Bound Armor. That's okay. Dark Exchange no longer grants minor force. Okay. But now Lightning Form gives you minor force. Okay. Yeah, they made a bunch of changes to item sets too. This is all too wordy for my mouth to really go through every single little piece here. But yeah, I did link the info if you guys are that curious. Also, I just don't really care about the meta anymore. I don't really do any. This is the kind of content I do. I just put glowing balls in my characters and go around killing trash mobs. So none of this really matters to me personally. Honestly, just having account progression be crossplay, even if characters are still bound to servers, would be good. I imagine merging all that progress would be a hassle. I mean, yeah, this is going to be a hassle no matter what. Definitely. Um, oh, dude, Mike has been suspended 20 times. Dude, you're the GOAT both in terms of spending in the game and suspensions. And usually those don't go together. They don't. Dude, Mike, you just go hard in general. Dude has spent 70K on the game. He could have bought himself a Cybertruck, but he spent it on ESO instead. And he's been suspended 20 times. Damn, son. That is impressive. Wow. Yeah. Shorts for bots. Hey, there we go. I just commented on the patch notes. My analysis here is that they're continuing to have to kind of homogenize things because of subclassing. I think we all knew this was coming. I notably didn't notice any comments on Fate Carver whatsoever. I may do a video on all this, but it's not really my focus. All this nitty gritty stuff. Half these trial sets, I don't even know they exist because I don't do trials. So I think I'll probably stick with my style content for this week, but I did link it. It's down there. You can check it. That's why tank says mechanized. Oh yeah, for dungeon queue times for sure. King Goose has had 25 accounts banned. Wait, really? No, you've had 20 accounts fully banned? Holy crap, man. I never had myself banned. I've only had... Wow. That's more serious than I was thinking. Damn. They moved the armor buff and the weapon spell power buff to the Sork tank line. Yeah, thanks for pointing that out. You go to the PTS section to find the notes. Or you can just click my link. Yeah, I don't think there are any Arcanist nerfs. I mean, let me double check. But I'll just search for Fate Carver in here. No, Fate Carver is not mentioned once. Arcanist is mentioned all of one times under scribing. Adjusted the combination effect of the class mastery script as an Arcanist with this grimoire for Banner Bearer. This effect will now only generate a Crux if you have no Crux active. Nope. Looks like Arcanist is staying exactly as it is. Okay. Okay. Yeah, cool funk music. We'll be looking forward to you coming back. There's so much to do in this game, just even if you don't care about the meta or any of these changes whatsoever. I mean, out of U47, all I really care about is mount swimming. I just want to be able to swim on my mount. I'm very simple, easy to please here. Yeah, I'm aware of that at least. That Fate Carver is basically the meta at this point, and they aren't touching it. Doesn't look like. Yeah, Mike is brutally honest with people. Well, yeah, getting 20 accounts fully banned. I bet you're pretty brutally honest. I understand why you didn't mind my my video on Zos last week. 20 accounts that were fully permabanned for a lot of toxicity and actual threats on life. Oh man, yeah. Well, Sheesh, bro. Yeah, that's too far. They don't need to nerf beam. They should bring other things up to its level to offer variety. Absolutely. I mean, that's generally my ideology here is buffs instead of nerfs. If there's something that is way too meta, make more things meta. That not take away the power of things that are already there. Yeah, they only birthed they only nerfed yeah, what is that? Yeah, Banner Bearer. And I never really got into scribing. It was too tedious for me. There's certain things in the game that I just won't do because I just like fall asleep. Like there are such cool sets you can get from Infinite Archive, but I just sit there and I end up wanting to bang my head on the wall. I'm just so bored. So yeah, I don't do Infinite Archive. Scribing was just way too boring for me. Need to buff a lot of dungeons then too. It's easier to bring one thing down than bring 20 up. Yeah, yeah, I hear you there, Riku. Yeah, I think that everything should just get more powerful, in my opinion. If there's something that's too powerful, I felt this way in Diablo 4 as well, that they should always just make things more powerful instead of less. But for the kind of thing I do, like I can literally just focus on having glowing balls around my character, and I'm still as powerful as I was when I was really trying hard like 2 or 3 years ago. So I think there's enough new power in the game overall for sure. Like we don't. I mean, for me, and then for people who want more power, that's great. You know, all power to you, literally. But yeah, it really seems like they were true to what they said at the beginning of the patch notes that they're going light with the changes. And I think that's probably good because they do need. It hasn't really been very long that subclassing has been out. I think they need more data before they can really figure out how to dial it in. But certain like outlying passives, it totally makes sense that they fix those. But again, this is not my forte. I really don't know that much about this. How do I keep hitting people up above me? I think it must be Stampede. I think it does do that. It accidentally hits people up above you sometimes. I'm as powerful as I feel like I need to be, and I haven't done PvP in quite a while, but it was my bread and butter in this game, and I can't wait for Whitestrakes to come back because I have a couple PvP builds, or they're really not. They're just like everything builds, but they work surprisingly well in PvP. I mean, I thrash it all the time. Deathmatch's my favorite in Battlegrounds, and Battlegrounds is the main PvP I play as well. I think it's just another kind of tedium thing with Cyrodiil. You rush to a keep, you die. You rush to a keep, you die. You die, you rush to. It's just over and over and over again. There's so much horse riding. I've never really been able to get that into Cyrodiil for that reason. For me, it's not really the bugginess or the issues with server latency. Though if I do play Cyrodiil at all, it's during Whitestrakes, and the issue is though I'm usually too busy doing Battlegrounds like crazy to really get into it that much. And I personally like the changes to Battlegrounds. I wish we had the option, Oh wait, I've already unlocked the skill I want to get. I didn't realize that. I wish we had the option, right, of to be able to do the three-way one before, because that really is what made Battlegrounds unique, right? Is the three-way fights, and it's sad we lost that. But I also do find the two-team model to be more enjoyable overall. It's just more familiar, with stuff that I've played before. I didn't realize I had unlocked this, so I need to get a skill respec scroll real quick. I had like 10 of these, and I've almost run through all of them since subclassing came out. Wait, where is it? Supplies. There we go. So we can get rid of that, and that, and that. Confirm. And now we get the wings. And again, this is all just purely cosmetic. That's the only reason I want this at all. And what else do I want again now? Right. My goals for subclassing are so minimal. It's all basically just like bringing my pets in from Sork because I love them, and doing just kind of minor aesthetic. Oh, dude, that's perfect. I was just hoping it would look exactly like that on this character. I could not be more pleased. Whee! Oh yeah, got wings now. Got some Red Bull. I got wings. I'm gonna go back to the entrance, log out in this tune, catch up with the chat, and I'm probably gonna wrap this up here pretty soon. Thank you all for being here. I do want to make some more points on the future of the game before I go. I got my Red Bull wings. I'm happy. So yeah, I mean, even in dungeons like this, sometimes you get lag. Like, you can't press a button when you should be able to. So, I mean, there's just so much in this game that should have been improved long, long ago, but wasn't because of all the resources and energy spent on Matt's passion project that now we can confirm is a total failure. Ouch. Ouch, mainly for the players who, you know, like Mike here, who invested $70K keeping this game afloat. That sucks. That's a big L for the players. Okay, logging out. See which tune I want to get on now. Yeah, the world bosses in Solstice are pretty easy. What I will say though is that the public dungeon boss in Dietrich Grotto is actually pretty difficult. It's harder than a world boss, in my opinion. It makes it really fun to me. This guy is still horsing up, but I love this dude's aesthetics. He's probably my favorite in terms of appearance now. Yeah, I'm just going to sit around this character here and wrap up with some commentary. Such an dude. This guy just went ham at Hot Topic. All his stuff is from Hot Topic, except maybe the Banekin. That's from the other store. It's kind of like Hot Topic, but sells hats. I forget. Things are dying way too quick, and dungeons are kind of a snooze fest. Even vet dungeons, because at least 2 people have Fate Carver. Yeah, I haven't done any vet dungeons since subclassing hit. I did like all the vet dungeons when I first got into PS5, and then I was like, I'm bored. I'm just going to do style stuff. Yeah, dude. I mean, Cyrodiil is definitely fun, Mike. I mean, I get it. It's just, it kind of gets too tedious for me. That's just personal preference, though. The 3-way team was 2 versus 1. I mean, yeah, sometimes. I could see why you'd say that. I just miss the 3-way maps, I guess. Like, I love that one map for Capture the Relic, where you could see, like, across the whole map. It was basically like there's this central area, this kind of raised platform that went all the way around. Man, I made a Nightblade specifically for speed, and you could just zip around and grab the relic and come back. That's where I got all my Capture the Relic titles from. Yeah, Mike, I haven't seen you be toxic. now. I think you are doing better. So we can take that pact together to overcome our toxicity. Because yeah, at this point, I'm mainly standing up against the toxicity of others, but then I can end up trolling too, on accident. So I'm just gonna make some final points here and then get going. So if I had to guess, I would say it is most likely that ESO is going to dramatically improve over the next year. Dramatically. Like from like getting a C average to getting a B plus at least. Across all your classes. Like at least a 3.5 GPA. While we are close to being tossed out of school at this point. Microsoft did not lay off 9,000 of its staff to have its game studios fail. They're trying to optimize, the word they use is agility. They're redoubling down on ESO as the core property of ZOS. At least some of those resources, both human and monetary, all the code they've developed, at least some of that will come into ESO from Blackbird. And clearly what is being provided is not good enough. So, it seems like ZeniMax was fine with not doing good enough. But Microsoft is not. It may take a while I know it will take a while for all this to percolate through. And for everyone to get over the reduced morale and everything. But I really don't think ESO has ever had a chance to shine. This is why I started talking about at the beginning, kind of got sidetracked. How it was on the brink of failure at launch. Things got fixed, mostly thanks to Matt Fuhrer. He did a great job back then. One Tamriel was amazing, but then as soon as One Tamriel released, he went to go work on Blackbird, diverting all the resources to a failed Destiny MMO. So really, from 2018 onward, we've only had half the game we could have had. We've only had half the content, half the focus, half the staff, half the money, and half the money we've put into the game has been going to Blackbird. So I really hope we recoup at least some of that. But just as a numbers game, people's feelings and everything need to be taken into account, sentiment, morale, etc. at the studio. But just as a numbers game, I can't imagine the game not improving. It has been being sucked vampirically dry for 7 years. We have never known ESO at its best because it was recovering from a shaky launch, had just gotten its feet under it, only to have its blood sucked out of it for a passion project. So honestly, I don't think we've ever seen ESO at anything close to its full potential. And I think that's what Microsoft wants here. They realize that the game will make even more money if people are actually happy with it. I would be a lot more interested in playing the game and enjoying it in other ways. I've kind of retreated into my little style bubble where I have my MTX and my cosmetics and everything, and I would explore more of the game. I'd be more involved in it, more engaged if I felt like there was an adequate response in terms of effort and quality. And I know so many people, one content creator, I haven't figured out who it was, but apparently he was a major content creator, quit 2 years ago, specifically because Blackbird was sucking up half the resources. So maybe that guy will come back. Maybe a lot of people will come back if basic problems like bugs and server issues, if that all gets fixed. And the reason it hasn't been fixed up until now is because of Blackbird. So I really do believe in the future of the game. I think it will improve from here. I can't guarantee that, but that just seems the most likely. 70% chance of major improvement over the next year, 30% chance of continued decline is where I'd put it. We'll just see. We'll just have to see. So yeah, that's my final 2 cents on the subject. Again, scroll up if you want to check out the U47 PTS patch notes. I'm just going to catch up with the chat here one last time, and I'm going to get out of here. Oh, it was Nefas Q. Was that the guy who quit over Blackbird? He was being bullied, but I did hear about that. Was that the guy who quit? So Mike says he'd really prefer if the quests were more drawn out, for sure. Yeah, it must have been Nefas. I knew that he quit, but I heard there was someone who quit specifically because of Blackbird, and maybe it was him, maybe it was someone else. But speaking of quitting, it is quitting time for me. I'm going to go ahead and get off the stream. I really appreciate you all being here, being part of the channel. Just going to plug here as I finish up. So, geez, yeah, I forgot to mention, this is kind of important. I have made a Telegram server for my members. So this is something that Perk isn't here, unfortunately, and even though I set up reminders, Wolfgar wasn't here either. But Perk was the one who said, I'm going to join the membership as soon as you have a Telegram server. Well, I do. You join as a member at hero rank or higher, and somewhere in the information you get, I don't know exactly how it works, is a link to join the Telegram server. So that's the $2.99 level and higher per month. So this is an exclusive place where members can all talk to each other. I've been promising I'm going to add to the membership perks over time, and now we finally have a Telegram server, and I am set up to do a weekly call for people at Mythic Hero of Legend rank, which is the highest rank of membership. So I only have one member there so far, but once I have 3 or more at Mythic Hero of Legend, we're going to have weekly calls on Saturday. I can't decide whether in the morning or the evening. I'm currently figuring that out, but all through Telegram. I don't like Discord because of data harvesting, the fact that it's named after Eris, the goddess of Discord. Like, I'm tired of Arisian Discordians in general. They're stupid fnords, all that. Go read a Tom Robbins book if you want to know what I'm talking about. But yeah, Arisian Discordians just bore me. So I'm not going to use Discord, but Telegram seems to be working great. So again, if you join as a rank hero or higher in the Spopes army, we now have a Telegram server. Very important news. I hope that Perk watches this on the recap. I hope you'll join, bro. And everyone else, I really appreciate you joining the membership. We have quite a few members now, and it really does help support the channel. And while you're at it, do check out my merch at spopesector.com. If you do join at Mythic Hero of Legend or higher, you get a permanent 10% discount on every order you make there. So that's another reason to become a major supporter of the channel. And for those of you who haven't checked it out, I have 2 videos out in the last 2 days about skins you can get in the game. The first one is about free skins, and the one that just came out this morning, which wasn't performing very well when I last checked, but that's the way it works, is about Crown Store skins that you can get. So check out my new videos. I'll have another one coming out today. I think I'm going to go ahead and do the polymorph video today about the top 5 polymorphs I like the most. So keep an eye out for style-based content coming out all this week. And then next week, if there's some major news, I'll get back to that. But yeah, I probably won't cover the PTS patch notes any more than this. I always cover the patch notes once they're fully out, and the quality of life features. The one that I hadn't covered in my U47 QL features video so far is the fact that apparently the compass is going to be updated to show actually the distance to things. That's pretty cool. This guy likes my appearance, I think. Who is this? This one on the stream? No, he's like this. I like your elk. Bye. Thanks, bro. Okay. But yeah, we have a dedicated place for members to all talk. If you're hero rank or higher, I really appreciate you joining the membership. Do check out the website, spopesector.com. Just my name is Spopes, but the S at the end starts a new word too, sector. It's all one word, Spopes Sector. And yeah, I just appreciate you guys being here on the stream, hearing me out, providing your own context and details. Very lively stream in terms of the comments. They just get better every time. So I'll be back next week for a stream. The best day seems to be Tuesdays to do that. And we'll see. There are certain events that happen where I want to cover it on that day. But I was doing Mondays, but I like Mondays to focus on getting content out there. Tuesdays really is the best day of the week to do these. So appreciate you all being here, and I'll see you next Tuesday. All right, Spopes over and out. Oh wait, actually, here before I go, forgot to give Lord God. Thank you, Lord. Thank you so much for giving me the power to do this stream today. I ask you bless all my viewers, all my subscribers. I give all glory to you, Lord. Your blessing be upon my whole channel and all the people who are part of it.